Coming to now, a thing that triggered me in the last few days, I don't want to mention specifics. Certain things that happen in China, Chinese Buddhism, yeah, and I feel so sorry. As I said the other day, I can't judge right or wrongs because I'm an ordinary human being. I don't have that kind of wisdom like the Buddha, you see. And I'm not perfect. I'm also equally imperfect human being. Yeah? So I'm not qualified to judge right and wrong. But I do feel sad. Whoever is right, whoever is wrong. It's very sad from the point of view of the people involved, both parties. Yeah? The one who is accused and those who are accusing the teacher, for instance. Both, I feel sorry for them, and I can understand that respective situation. And I also feel sorry for whatever happened is bad for Buddhism. That made me very sad. So I begin to think, what has happened there? There were many reasons. I don't want to go into all the details. It can be analyzed in different ways, but one relevant point was this idea of being, this point of being, the negative effect of being overwhelmed by the Western model. Because in that case, that particular person involved who came to be accused talked so much about, modernizing Buddhism, right? And talk so much about looking up to the Western model. And we must learn from the West to develop our present Buddhism now. And we must follow the Western model. And that he went all out to use modern technologies, internet and robot, a monk, and they became famous. And his disciples have PhD from the top universities of China, for instance. All this. And as I said the other day, I went there, I saw that they were using iPad. They were using iPad in the chanting hall. Now we are still using sheets like that. We are very backward. They talk so much about modern Western technology, modern Western way of organizing things and spreading Buddhism and reforming the thing, the Buddhist movement. And of course there's a political part of it also, which again I don't want to touch on, because I know nothing about politics. But that also I believe is negative. The only thing I can say is that for me personally, I don't think that monks should have anything to do with party politics. We can have friends who are politicians. We can appreciate them also, actually. I sometimes praise some of the leaders if they do something good, especially due to the Buddha. I don't care what party they belongs to, right? But my understanding is that a monk should not take part in any party politics. The Buddha never did that. That's one thing I learned from the Buddha. And the downfall of that, in that case, the person, one big reason is because of the involvement with politics. But you feel that that's the way, what's the way? The modern way, right? And I think that so-called modern way partly was due to the influence of Western ideas once again. You look at, the same thing happened actually in the West, has happened in the West. Originally the Catholic, the Catholic tradition, I think there was quite a bit of spirituality at the beginning, I believe. Right? And when the church developed, and then this authoritarianism in the church, and then involvement with politics, and so on, then the church became empty. And there was no spirituality in it. So when things that happen, which actually should happen for any human being, they can't cope with them. But on the other hand, we look at their organization, they all say, oh, they are so powerful, they're so highly organized, they're so efficient. And we admire those things. We call this thing progress in our mind. So we want to imitate them. And then they say the Buddhist movement is not structured enough, not organized enough, not powerful enough, not rich enough. So they want to amass more and more wealth, make the temples bigger and bigger. The Buddhist organization have more and more members. So they boast of the number of members they have. To me, all these things, you think about it, these are actually very subtle influences from the Western model. So that was one reason, I think, what I saw in the recent happening in China. Very unfortunate thing was because of a powerful, highly influential teacher who had been now I use the word victim, was a victim of modernization, victim of westernization. They also talk about, for instance, Sinolization of Buddhism, 中国化, that's making Buddhism Chinese. Well, that depends on what you mean, of course. I cannot go all out to criticize this. But then, if by that you mean mainly modernizing it on the model of the West, of the so-called modern society, I think that's wrong. That's going to bring this kind of disaster. Likewise, when you look at the students who accused the teacher, they were also confused. I think they are quite, from their writing, they seem to be very sincere people. They probably are actually struggling. They say that they are struggling. They probably are, but then they are confused, and one source of confusion is, again, I think, Western values. For instance, thinking that the way they think about the Vinaya, the Chinese say 依律理次次. The whole understanding of Vinaya, there's something very wrong about it. You see, again, I want to talk about this a big topic, but only one point I want to say: Vinaya is not the same as law in the country, in a secure country. They're not rules, based on which people are to be arrested, to be imprisoned, to be destroyed, to be punished. Not like that. Of course, there are so-called punishments, certain type of punishment in the Sangha also, based on Vinaya rules. But these so-called punishments are not in the secular sense. These are meant to help the persons. You see, the very word itself. First thing I want to comment on is the very word Vinaya. Vinaya doesn't mean rules. It does, of course, entail rules in the form that it is instituted in space-time, in the development of the Sangha. But the essential spirit, even the meaning of that word, doesn't mean rule. Vinaya means actually, what is it? Actually, it means guide. Guiding. From ni is to guide, to lead. Vinaya is a guide, So certain principles, certain so-called rules are promulgated in order to guide us, to help us. You see, not essentially to punish us. Like the law in the country is. There are many reasons. One is, of course, maintain harmony and order in society. That's a good side of it. But then the laws can be made use of by the politicians, right, to persecute their opponents, yeah. And then the laws can be used by criminals to justify their wrongdoing. You know, if you have enough money, if you are educated enough, you have clever enough lawyers, you can get away with, for instance, killing, harming others, all based on law. You know, so it's very frightening. So this has become very mechanical. That is not the meaning. That's not the spirit of the so-called Buddhist law or Buddhist rules. So I don't like to translate the word as law or rules. Actually, it means the guide. And but the corresponding word for that is Vinaya. Who knows the Chinese word Vinaya? Vinaya 中文叫做所化，所化有所化，可見呢，所謂嘅律嘅精神呢係要感化我哋，要轉化我哋 ，is to transform us, to guide us. So Vinaya means someone to be guided, someone to be transformed spiritually, transformed through the teachings and through certain way of living. And in a sort of living, because of the complications, right, in a group living, so there need to be certain rules also. That's true, but essentially they should not be looked at in the same way as the secular law or rules. So I think in the mind of these the two very learned students, right? Who came to oppose the teacher and created all the problems. This is how they talk so much about Vinaya. They said they are spotless in Vinaya. They are so not correct. And a lot of you read their account, and as I said, while you feel that they seem to be quite sincere and they are also struggling themselves, but then at the same time also a lot of justification to justify that they have not done a wrong thing, and that they had to do it because they felt for the sake of it was for the sake of the sasana and so on. You see, for the Buddhism, even they said that it was good for the teacher, you know, and so on. And then they talk so much about Vinaya, and then even talking about one thing like. The monk, the teacher was not honest about eating after meal, but I openly eat after lunch now. Because to me, you know, these are not the rules in that kind of ritualistic or mechanistic sense. You see, but I think one of the way that these learned, highly intelligent, they both are PhDs, right? One is in nuclear engineering or something. One is in another school of engineering, the top universities of China, and they have followed their master for many years, you know, and so on. But in their mind, that's how they were understanding Vinaya. I would say, in other words, in a very Western sense, even in a non-Buddhist sense. Yeah? And then, can you solve the problem by just, say, kicking out the teacher? There will be another teacher, maybe a more serious thing to deal with. And firstly. Secondly, are they themselves strong enough? Are these two? They are not saints. And then also thirdly, they do, as I said, do not understand the spirit of Vinaya. They don't understand a human being, talking about human being. When we say that we must depend on the Dharma and not the Pukkala, I have explained what's the meaning of Pukkala. It means much more than just an individual person, right? At the same time, it does not mean that we should not rely on the teacher also. Of course, there's interesting twist in the account, and the teacher is saying, you know, you obey me because I'm the teacher, you know. So rely on the EC. That's the way he explained it. You rely on the teacher, therefore you obey me. You have to obey me. I will never do like that. Even if I smack and hit a student and get angry, I wouldn't say that just because I have high authority, others might blame me. That's my expression. That's my feeling that I communicated. But it's not the authoritarianism. That's not the Buddhist spirit. So, you know that these students felt a confrontation. This is the group situation. You know, when you in any human institution, you're going to see whether it's the problem unfold in this way or a different way. But there are human clashes within an over-structured society. The structure that is influenced by modern ideas. You see, so the sangha is not meant to be over-structured. There need to be certain organization, but organization should be proportional to the actual need of the development, proportional to the actual complicated situation that arise that had to be dealt with. But there shouldn't be a kind of a presupposed superstructure, you see, of authority, of rules, and so on. You think that, unfortunately, in the Chinese system, one thing very mechanical, and some of them, I can't say otherwise I'll be blamed. I don't mind being blamed, but I do not mean to say that all Chinese organizations are like this, or monastic institutions like this. But there is, I think, one aspect, or one possible aspect, that the over structuring of the monastic group, you see, and you see a whole hierarchy of the abbot, and then the ministers of the abbot, the vice experts, someone in charge of this, someone in charge of that. You need people to be in charge of different things. That's true, but then when this becomes structurally, position, you see, and when it's particularly when it's devoid of a underlining of a spiritual concern, then it becomes just a mere structure, powerful structure, very, very complicated structure. Even how you sit, where you sit, when you come to dharma, who sits where, becomes a problem. Maybe there's a lot that comes from confusion influence also. But of course, negative aspect. There are great aspects of Confucianism. So I'm not talking about that. So all the over-structuring, over-organization, this is today is something that these people see in the Western model. And they are consciously or unconsciously overwhelmed by these values. So they want to see this in the Sangha. That's wrong to begin with. So another thing is that they fail to see that person as a person. The person may have made some mistake, but he may be a great person at the same time. He may be struggling. You don't know the heart of the person. Nobody can be 100% bad. Even a murderer can't be 100% bad. So we have to learn to see the different aspect of the person. When you try to pick out all the so-called negative things of that person in a very unfair way, what you're in your mind, you simply want to destroy the person totally. And you think you can solve the problem by destroying that hate and replace it with just another hate. So this is the failure in this situation of understanding the meaning of relying. Now this failure has become famous now in China. Relying on the Dharma, not on another person. 依法不依人. These few days they're talking very much about it. I have been following this account for the last few days and thinking about so many things. So they fail to see the person as a complex phenomena, different aspects of that person. And surely the person has done a lot of great things also. There is no what is called kalyana mitata, no spiritual fellowship. If I have a teacher in whom I see something good, even if the teacher makes mistakes, I love the teacher. Yeah, I don't necessarily go in the same wrong way. If I think there is a wrong way I don't agree with, I still respect him for his good. I don't want to destroy the teacher. I'll never think like that. If I can't live with that teacher, I'll leave the teacher. That's what happened in the Buddhist tradition. That's Buddhist value. But now in the modern way, no, we are lawyers, we know, and we are learner, we are PhD. We can work out a way to prove the guilt of the teacher and destroy the teacher. You see, in this situation, you can see that there is no spirituality, there is no spiritual fellowship, no kindness, no true genuine affection. It was the same person, same student who wrote how that teacher was covering himself on the bed with coal when he was trying to preach and trying to pick a very compassionate, dedicated picture of the guru. And today it was that very same person with another person who tried to fully destroy the teacher. It's already said, right or wrong, I do not know. As I said, I'm not commenting on that. But that situation, that pattern, this kind of happening is very certain. And to conclude, one reason is they have not understood that the Buddhist Sangha, or even the Dharma, or even the Vinayas, the Buddhist teachings, right? In the Buddhist way, they have been conditioned too much by modern, Western, educated way of understanding Buddhism and the Buddhist system. Another thing, finally, I want to say about this, the first reliance. If it is if the teaching which says that one must rely on the Dharma, not on the Pukala, so is it wrong to take refuge? So when you take refuge in the teacher, are you not relying on the teacher? That literally means relying on. Refuge means relying on. Same word, sarana. The pratisharana is the Sanskrit word for relying. Koyi also connected with that word. Sharana means going for refuge. Is it wrong to take refuge? That emphasized, however, from the beginning of Buddhism, Buddha-Dharma Sangha, I take refuge in Buddha, Sangha. And then now also in the Chinese tradition, I also emphasize it. And the Tibetan really emphasize it. Are they wrong? So there are many things to be understood carefully. So when it is said that we must rely on the Dharma and not the teacher, what is meant should be that we must not irrationally, blindly, right, submit to the authority of a particular person. In fact, I have said that that person doesn't signify just a human person. It can be a whole tradition, a whole organizing constitution, a whole society.